Okay, let's talk more about circles. Unit 9, video number 2, grab those vocab books. Okay, we only have one vocab word today. It's central angles. Central angles. Okay, a central angle is an angle within a circle, okay, where the vertex, see, here's our angle, angle X, the vertex is at the center. So this angle we would call angle X, and it turns out that this angle will form an arc. This is called an arc. And this arc we can refer to as the same degree as this angle. So if this angle is x degrees, we can call this arc x degrees. Well, the remainder of the circle would also be a central angle. It's just a larger one, and we would call that y. So then this we could call y also. So if you were to add angle x and angle y, you would always get 360 because a complete circle is 360 degrees. Okay, so central angle, arc. Okay, so our first problem is to find x and y. So I'm going to go ahead and mark a spot for my answer. Down here I need to find x and y. Okay, well, let's solve for x first. So if you take a look at this angle right here, this is a central angle because it's centered. And we know that this angle is 3x plus 5 degrees. Well, remember what we just talked about. This central angle is congruent to this arc. So that's going to be my first equation. That's how I'm going to solve for x. So we would set up the equation 3x plus 5 equals 47. Then we just have to solve for x. So let's subtract 5 on both sides. We get 3x equals 42. Divide by 3 on both sides. And we end up with x equals 14. So let's fill that in down here. X is 14. Now, how do you think we're going to get y? Well, remember that a complete circle is 360 degrees. So this arc right here would be 360 minus this one. So why don't we figure that out real quick? 360 minus 47. And that's going to give us 313 degrees. So we know that this arc right here, this whole thing, is 313 degrees. So that's going to help us set up our next equation. So we have to set up 20y plus 13 equals 313. Okay, so we're going to subtract 13 on both sides. So we end up with 20y equals 300. Let's divide by 20 on both sides. And we get that y equals 15. Okay, so that is how we solved for x and y. Okay, now we have to find w, x, y, and z. So let's put a spot for all those answers over here. W, x, y, and z. Okay, well, let's look for x first. Take a look at this right here. This is angle x. What do you think about that? What degree do you think this is? Well, what degree is half of a circle? Okay, if you're thinking it's 180 degrees, you are correct. because half a circle is 180. A full circle would be 360. So that's how we're going to solve for x. It's 180 degrees. Well, if this is 180 degrees, that means that these two would also be 180 degrees. Okay, so that's how we're going to solve for y. So we know that 2y plus 7 plus 3y plus 3 has to equal the other part of our circle, which is 180 degrees. So we need to solve this equation. So combine like terms, 5y plus 10 equals 180 degrees. Subtract 10 on both sides, and we get 5y equals 170. Now we just have to divide 170 by 5. Okay, so we can do that off to the side down here. I'll do that. So 170 divided by 5 goes in 3 times. 15, subtract, so we get 34. Okay, so y equals 34. Okay, now let's take a look at what we have up here. So to get w, I have to know what this arc is. Well, I know what y is. Y is 34. So I need to plug that in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that down toward the bottom. Or actually, I'll do it right next to the problem. So 3 times 34 plus 3 is what I need to work out. Well, 3 times 34 would give us 102. Okay, plus 3. And that's going to give us 105 degrees. So, if this right here is 105 degrees, that means that W is also 105 degrees. Okay, so to find Z, we could just add all of the angles that we have and subtract from 360, or we can just do the same thing we did to get W. So I'm going to plug in 34 for Y, so it's going to be 2 times 34 plus 7. Well, 2 times 34 is 68, and 68 plus 7 is 75. So that means that that would give us Z as 75 degrees. So I'll go ahead and write it right here, 75 degrees. So take a look at all of the angles that we found. We found W, we found X, and we found Z. If you add all those up, guess what you get? 360 degrees. Pretty cool. So we were able to find angle X, knowing that this was half of a circle, so that made it 180 degrees. Then we found W and Z by finding Y. So in order to find Y, we had to realize that this was the other 180 degrees. So we set up an equation. We went through, solved for Y. Once we had Y, we plugged it in, and that gave us this arc, which was 105, which made this 105. Then we plugged 34 in here and got this arc to be 75, which made Z 75. Okay, hope that helped. Okay, well, I hope you have an awesome day. Hope you learned something new about circles. See you in class.